famous Grauman's Egyptian Theatre for the world premiere of the Savage Opress Clone Wars episodes.
Katie, the writer, her debut, Star Wars debut tonight.
It's really exciting. I'm really honored to have people see it. I hope they like it. I started working on this show when I was 17 and I just left for college. And my dad just said, you know, you like to write. Here's the story. Why don't you try to do this? And that ended up being Jedi Crash. And I worked independently on a bunch of episodes, and it was my first experience in season 3 being in an actual writer's room.
When it got time to the writers' meeting, George wanted to do this arc that involved Ventress and the Night Sisters, which we were all pretty excited about.
Season 3 was very much about learning and observing and seeing what it's like to work with people who have ideas and fight for them. We all just pitched ideas and storylines, and it's fun. Season 3 is a lot darker than the rest has been. It's gonna be heavy stuff.
We knew we wanted to tell a bit of the story about Ventress in flashback.
It was a great experience to explore Ventress's backstory a little bit more because we never really got a sense of where she came from.
Take me to Dathomir.
The original Ventress design proposed for episode 2 was this sort of pale-faced, vaguely samurai-looking female character that was similar to another design for episode 1 for a Sith witch. And neither of those designs made it into the live-action films, but they were both interesting concepts and added to George's huge pile of interesting artwork for future use.
She is one of us.
Ventress was now officially a Night Sister herself, which gives you an instant history that hadn't been there in the past, and sort of meant that the way she looked made sense. We also get to see Ventress at various stages of her life, from infant through toddler to adolescent. It was very much a case of sort of reverse engineering what that person looked like. And that was all Wayne Lowe, with ideas that Katie had, because Katie Lucas was pretty specific about the looks. She was very keen to see Ventress have some sort of mohawk at some point.
She should have a mohawk.
These are all different versions of that mohawk where it could be, straight up, or maybe it's flopped over to the side, or maybe it's shaved but it's slicked down a little bit.
I like a lot of punk pop bands like Joan Jett. Brody Dahl of the Distillers had this really big mohawk. I had in my head like just this fleet of Joan Jetts and Brody Dahls running about. Tank Girl was a big inspiration for me growing up. I wanted them to be tough because I consider myself pretty tough, even though I'm a total nerd and probably not tough at all.
Baby Ventress weirdly took a little bit more working out than anticipated because we'd never really done a baby or a child that young. When it's in 2D, she had eyebrows, which makes sense. But what we found when you went to 3D was that the eyebrows started to overpower the rest of her features. She looked more like some sort of Soviet-era politician with these pretty pronounced, bushy eyebrows that just looked out of place. So in the end, they got shaved off, and the eyebrows are purely paint. This is the kind of stuff that gets debated over the course of a day on the Clone Wars production. Does baby Ventress have eyebrows?
Your sacrifice has never been forgotten.
With Mother Talzin, and kind of with the Night Sisters in general, I kind of just unloaded all of my theremin-based sound design into those 3 episodes. All of the stings, all the magic swirls.
I told Dave, I said, boy, it'd be great if when Mother Talzin's talking, it's like these are like spells coming out of her mouth.
Under Mother Talzin's voice is a subharmonic booming echo. We kind of make it a little bit more present when she's talking about Darth Maul or when she's talking about Dooku. That boom will show up in your 0.1 and your 5.1.
That's better.
From the initial design of Mother Talzin, first thing that popped in my mind was just to make her a little bit more spooky would be to have these flaps just kind of moving. almost like silk scarves underwater that are just constantly flowing. I had this idea that we could do a setup that's like a rig that is permanently in the asset. So at all times, even when she's doing nothing, her back robe is just always kind of blowing in the wind. On the agenda, it was like, how on earth we're gonna make 3 women turn into smoke?
Now you are invisible.
Usually I make this stuff up as I go along. I went in Photoshop, came up with how to do it in 3 steps, and the studio totally got it from that Photoshop file. I have that snapshot on my computer, and it just always just reminds me that it can just be that simple.
Dooku gets attacked in his bedroom, and he obviously wouldn't be wearing his usual Dooku outfit, so the script called for Dooku pajamas. The Dooku is an aristocrat, so he's obviously going to be wearing tailored night clothes. He's not going to just buy off the rack.
I guess we all need PJs, right? So I was assigned to do the Dooku, well, it's actually called Dooku leisure wear, but they're at least pajamas, so.
They look very comfortable. They have a monogram on the pocket. Very stylish. I mean, what can you say? You have to admire Dooku. He keeps it together.
The Night Sisters was going to be one of our first attempts in the series to create an environment that we would revisit a couple times and create a world that we've never created before. We had to make it a planet you wouldn't want to go to, so immediately, it's Red Planet. All throughout this arc, we really broke new ground on how to light. So by having all this naughty little twigs and branches, we're able to always have shadow over the characters or have those branches act as a really nice backdrop. It looks like a sculpture.
Bring the water of life.
The sort of intensely green glowing liquid's very unique to the Night Sisters and makes everything much creepier because the light level is so low. You've got that whole sort of campfire spookiness happening in the shadows. The whole underground stepped city is pretty much 2 different stone columns, slightly rotated in different directions so you don't see that it's the same column. You can sort of sell the idea that this is a bigger and more complicated environment than what you're actually seeing.
When we do the writers' meeting, all the writers together with George and myself, we beat out an outline for how the story is going to flow, and then it's up to the writer to expand that and make it all fleshed out. And George said one of the things he wanted to do in the story arc was to drop Ventress out as Dooku's apprentice. Dooku attempted to destroy her, and then he attempts to recover by getting a new apprentice, which is where Savage Opress came in.
You have heard of the Sith warrior, Darth Maul, have you not?
Yes. He was slain on Naboo at the hand of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
A few still remain in his bloodline. The men dwell on the far side of Dathomir.
Dathomir is a really female-oriented planet. I mean, they rule this whole planet. I was actually really inspired by the book Herland by Charlotte Perkins Gilman, which I read in high school, and it's about this kind of utopia of women. The men who are the same species as Darth Maul are kind of like their slaves.
I have come for the selection.
Yes, of course. Line up! Heads of each tribe, line up for the sister.
And there was a sort of conscious effort to stay away from something that was too Darth Maul. There's a certain amount of styling going on with Darth Maul. He has pretty expensive looking leather boots and gloves, and he's got satin trim on his collar and stuff. But when you look at the average Night Brother, they're wearing pretty much down and dirty outfits that don't have a great deal of finesse to them. They're sort of living this very hard scrabble Spartan existence and harsh environment. It's pretty bleak and uncomfortable from day one.
Let the games begin.
The sort of key standout element of the whole Night Brothers village is the arena.
These guys are the warriors of the galaxy, as tough as they come before you get to be a Jedi or a Sith.
Pathetic.
Throughout this arc, Dave had the great idea of wanting to see stars in the sky when we're on the ground, even during the day. It made me think of a moment that I'll always remember in Jaws, at night in the boat, and all of a sudden, in the sky, a shooting star.
Only 4 of you remain.
So I figured, let's put a shooting star right when things were about to change.
Who will be the first to fall?
Part of the challenge was creating a character like that was going to be very familiar with a very classic character, Darth Maul, and that still had a lot of heart.
Spare him. Take me.
Even though they're rough and sort of look ominous, they're fairly innocent. Savage isn't innocent, who is then turned and manipulated into this monster.
He has surrendered his life to me.
And Mother Talzin kind of runs her hand up over Savage Opress like an animal at a fair or something, and it just added a lot of evil resonance to it.
The glow of the energy around the characters had to be something that you knew would come from these witches. What if I had this energy just wrapping around him, like in Raiders of the Lost Ark?
The green sort of mist is kind of covering him up, but you're getting the sense that he's been changed and he is physically growing. A lot of the fans kind of assume that the Night Sisters can tap into the Force, but as far as I was concerned, they had powers of their own, special powers that their sisterhood used. Whether or not it has anything to do with the Force, maybe that's a matter of opinion.
Super Savage Opress is slightly less extreme than he was at the design phase. When Darren Marshall designed it, we just kept pushing him. We were like, no, make it worse, make it more insane, just really make him huge.
May I present Savage Opress.
He certainly is a sight to behold.
Before he's actually transformed, he's kind of lit from all sides. Towards the end, the light is always behind him. When he picks up Farrell, he's just backlit. You do not need to see him.
I remember reading that part in the script and thinking to myself, no, he's not going to kill his brother. No, he's not going to kill him. No. And yeah, he does. He kills him. That's really the only way we're going to be able to connect to the reality that he isn't who he used to be. Now he really is just a pawn of Ventress.
Yes, sister.
There's all this sort of talk of being in master or servant relationships or in partnerships, but it really does seem to be every man for himself.
We will be even more powerful than Lord Sidious. I am your servant, master.
This is just a complete villain smackdown brawl from the dark side of the Force's point of view, right down to the training of Savage Opress.
You have no technique.
Everything comes up through the gut, through anger and hate, and it's focused in rage and contempt.
With the proper training, you could be a powerful warrior.
Savage is just a brute force. He's like a wrecking ball with a lightsaber. It's very much the anti-Luke training.
Feel the Force flow.
Yoda teaches Luke through trial and error and faith from inside.
Something that I just kind of pushed for as a nerd was to give Dooku the sort of traditional scary yellow and red eyes people only use in their full-on bad guy mode. But it was really more just because I thought it would look cool, and it is pretty freaky.
The electrocution of Savage, it just goes on forever. The poor guy is just roasted.
You must connect with your hatred.
Yeah, I like that take. That's really good. I had found out that Clancy Brown was a huge fan of the Clone Wars. I remember Clancy from when I was a kid. He was in the movie The Highlander, and he played this incredible villain called the Kargan. Years later, I wouldn't have thought that here I would be directing a Star Wars television series and I'd be asking this guy to play Darth Maul's brother.
A brother? But all of my kin were killed.
Not all of them.
What it all comes down to in this big arc, what it all comes down to is what's in that crystal ball at the end of it.
Darth Maul alive? It can't be. I killed him myself.
Strange and disturbing these questions are. How could that be? He got cut in half.
That was news for all of us too. I kind of like that you don't necessarily get a completely clear view of this character, and it's really left open-ended if this is something that you're seeing that's happening in real time, or if this is some sort of vision or a dream, is this something that happened in the past or in the future.
That reveal kind of had to be critical. Nothing was really certain. If I can just plant the seed of just these little things of what Darth Maul is going to look like, you can put the rest together in your head.
He's live. He's dead. You will find out. This is not something that you will get a vague answer to.
You have an important destiny to fulfill, Savage Opress.
The best thing about Lucasfilm is that we really are a family, and I know I'm not just saying that because I am family with George. It's fun to be in a room with a bunch of people that you don't know, and by the end you guys are like best friends. It's fun to create and recreate, this big myth. It's like a Greek myth that we're all just a part of. It's fantastic.